explain the idea of the going forward. Just sheet music for broken windpipe is a collaboration between visual artist David Hammons and myself, John Ferris. A monument to the tragedy of the death of the 21-year-old West African immigrant to New York City, Amadou Diallo. Sheet music is composed around 6 poems that suggest background, both the immigrants and the poets, and suggest reasons that such a tragedy might have occurred: relationship to the past, geography, cultural nomenclature, and how, based on these, it could happen again, the conditions that brought it about yet being in place. Blown up to the dimensions of 17 inches by 22 inches, these have been hung from the ceiling by hooks and hemp and enclosed in plexiglass with industrial hardware. The hemp has been fashioned into hangman's knots above an old holy carpenter's bag containing a total of 41 crumpled notes, 28 of which have been spilled from it, and a book, all of which contain apocrypha suggestive of the title of the installation. Hung from a steam pipe with transparent tape, a pickle jar has been filled with the voice, my own voice, reciting the poem on the predicament of Elian Gonzalez, another questionable immigrant to these shores who might represent the voice of hope. Heritage for Amadou Diallo. I was born in 1940 on Manhattan, island of hills, place of inebriations, placer of muskrat, beaver, and mink. My ancestors built a wall for the Dutch to keep them contained, out like a line in the sand, being thereby kept both in and out, effectively dividing themselves against themselves for the patroons. Ironically, a minuet set to governance, elegance itself in broad felt hat and pumped with great shiny buckles, himself named effectively dividing themselves against themselves for the patroons. Ironically, a minuet set to governance, elegance itself in broad felt hat and pumped with great shiny buckles, himself named minuet. The drollery of thin clay pipe, as good a symbol as any of this authority over life and over death. His staff. Set to this at cutlass point, the refrain of the constant threat of whipping, the promise of musket balls between the defenseless blades of shoulders, the elegance of rope necklaces. My ancestors learned to dance on air, the traditional melancholy melody of broken windpipes, blues, to twist, to cool jerk, to a battery of drums from the harbor, the fusillade. Immigrant, Martyr Diallo. Poor fellow, he merely made the mistake of being a young man who took Emma Lazarus at her word, a poet, and having had not much else, brought hope all the way from home with him to the Bronx, following the trail of minerals and contorted bodies that stacked next to the lamp the silent statue held would stretch 10,000 times beyond that dim light, at least to where in his imagination he had marked the tattered lamp he held up with an X for the Bronx, thus revealing right away to Eddie the inscription, the legend, to be not in stone, but copper, and so much hubris. In that harsh light, he might have recognized them for who they were when they came to him for the selection. In that peculiar light, he might have recognized the golden door the poet spoke of as the one that had been spoken of by his ancestors as the door of no return. In that brilliant glare, he would have known who they were exactly when they came for him and groveling, prostrated himself. Presumption of guilt. According to the report, it was fishy to begin with, being in dim light and black on Wheeler, alone. What was he doing with a wallet, in sneakers, without a basketball? He should have had a gun. It was assumed he did. He should have run. It was assumed he would. Shot, he might have gotten up. It was assumed he might fly right into the face of a stiff barrage. It was assumed he was a stiff. He should have been a stiff. It was assumed he would offer stiff resistance the crumpled way he lay there in dim light, stiff as a coat hanger. It was assumed he might get up. It was assumed he might do something. At that point, he wouldn't move. Stereotype. They can usually be seen standing there next to the lamppost the day long, year after year, pulling on cigarettes they've learned to hoard. Faces change like the feet they shuffle restlessly, though it is still easy to ID them. Resentment pinned to lapels like stars, familiar yet distant. The gasp at dry leaves of burning tobacco before the 10 p.m. curfew like beached fish reflecting my own helplessness. The light from my own tobacco. The gasp at recognition. Quick shuffle from foot to foot each morning yearly past their mocking. How often they remind me I can usually be seen smoking. Dream. What he wanted was to buy into it. Streets paved, if not with gold, then copper, nickel. If not the legendary stone, then cement with I love you sprawled in the very latest language next to the adolescent handprint. He would gladly trade the parched soil of Dakar for it, that dry savannah air for these plateaus, his tongue, beads, if not glass, then stone, if not precious, carnadine, following the line of traders that had preceded him from here to Timbuktu, hauled his goods, fetishes, bringing member phones, wooden masks, Dan, Baldi, Fam, Bambata, nailed, scarified. Such an easy mark, they didn't have to give him CPR. Limits. 3 shots had rung out in Dealey Plaza. According to some, 2 from the grassy knoll. Not long before we crossed the border at Brownsville, hurtling north, myself in a car full of hippies, their long hair and elephant bells like flags. I had been south just once before, visiting relatives outside Savannah. It was not a route I had chosen, but the one most direct. Given their long hair and my big mouth, I never thought we would make it beyond the segregated facilities of comfort stations. So we ate from paper bags and shat, looking furtively over our shoulders beneath the cottonwoods, at the alien landscape where we had lost our president, and covering our spoor like jackrabbits doing the limit, ran uneasily towards the Mason-Dixon line. This Salud Elian Gonzalez. Elian Gonzalez, having never been to Cuba, I don't know where you came from, except you floated into the arms of a fisherman from the sea your mother consigned herself to for love, providing you with no more than an inner tube and enough presence of mind to float on air with no toys for 3 days. It could have been the lotus, of which you would be the jewel. Om Mani Padme Ma would be your laughter. Om Mani Padme Ma, how you arrived on Thanksgiving like an avatar, protagonist of a fairy tale with Janet Reno as fairy godmother. How much you must have to tell us about the night sea and the stars.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
When was this piece conceived and when was it executed? Could you go back through that again?
Well, actually, Bobby G. was asked to curate a show here at Tribes Gallery. And what Bobby G. decided to do was to have 3 poets and writers pick, 3 poets each pick a visual artist to go with them. So I had asked David if he would do something with me. We do things together. And he decided he wanted to have me recite into the jar a poem and to close it. In other words, vacuum-packed poetry. At the same time, the decision had just come in from Albany on the Diallo case. And I decided that I wanted to present something to make that agitprop, if you will, but I wanted it in people's faces. I wanted to blow the poems up and hang them, exactly as what was done to him. And as a counterpoint to David's having my exhalation into the pickle jar, which dovetailed perfectly with the whole idea of capitalism versus socialism and the idea of containment of Cuba. That's a pretty pickle. And the tape is very transparent there. I thought that worked well, but what I did was to counterpoint, as a counterpoint to the breath there, I had these notes that refer to the title of the piece, sheet music for a broken windpipe. I had one of these sheets that represent the shots. I had in a concrete form, I had put same old dirty bag, only the truth is stretched, and that's stretched as in stretched there, and as a concrete sort of counterpoint to the ethereality of the pickle. And so that's the idea. And it just sort of worked with the whole idea of the exhibition itself, which I didn't know that the title of was going to be Who is This Powerful Ghost? And I thought that that worked pretty well. Then here I have a book, because the book was the acquittal of the officers. This is a carpenter's bag here. And, you know, there's a rope here. This rope is a chain. It's not, so that's the chain. You have to carry the bag around, the carpenter's bag, and Jesus was a carpenter. There's a hole in it, you know, so it's a holy carpenter's bag there. And the rope there is woven as opposed to, it's plated as opposed to, in a hangman's noose like that. Then this book, the book that was used to acquit the officers of malfeasance of duty, is represented by this book, which has a little noose on it, and it says, "Open me." And then it says, "The book." And then it says, "I should have been aborted. Give me some crack. International Harvester made me obsolete. I'm ugly. I play ugly music. I talk dirty. The older I get, the dirtier I get. Some character. Is my obsolescence A, accidental? B, evolutionary? C, a general semantic? Is this the end? And so I had this made to symbolize the book that was used to acquit those officers.
So would you like to add anything additional to this now?
Well, oh yeah, you know, then we have the wing nut spare, that's the body of the poem there. That's the industry of the
Wing nuts?
yeah, that, you know, there's a sort of military industrial reference there.
Okay.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let me get the jar. What did you put into the jar?
Oh, I put the Ellen Gonzalez poem into the jar. That's to represent hope.
Last night what happened was he left me one, he took one of the Bibles away. And then,
So the writing that's on these here is what you read, or this?
Yes, each of these poems, there are 6 poems here, and
Those are the ones you just read?
the ones I just read.
Okay. Thank you. I think that's about it.
Oh, thank you very much, Alex. You don't take much time. That was very organized how you did that.
Okay. We're in business.
Mitsubishi Company, the fastest growing Japanese car company in America. We just wanted to know what it was.
want this down?
That's okay. You didn't put your name on here.
I know. Oh, there's my name, John Fair. It's on there. You have it.
Okay, what you say? Introduce the piece now.
Oh, yes, this is, as I said, a piece done by myself and David Hammonds, myself being John Ferris.
And the date?
And the date it was done was March. It was actually conceived in about March, April.
And the installation went in place?
And it went up here at Tribes Gallery on May the 6th, and it will be here until the 27th.